we're going to be looking at how to solve inequalities and graph them on a coordinate grid. So first one we're going to look at is question 4. It's right in the top left. And you'll notice that a couple of these have fractions in them. In the case of fraction or fractional terms, what you'll want to do after you write the inequality down is you can get rid of those fractions by distributing. So like in this case, I'm going to multiply this whole equation by 3. And when I do that, I multiply every single term by 3. So then I end up with a new equation that's going to have no fractions in it. Okay, so, and again, I knew this is a 1. I would put this in the calculator. I have 3 times negative 2/3 would give me negative 2, like I have here. 3 times 7, 3 times 1, and 3 times negative 8. So, and again, don't put x in there. Don't put x in the calculator, because if you do, it's going to screw up the answer. And then from there, you can just eliminate terms. I generally like to get the x on the left side, kind of like it's set up in the answers. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to subtract the 3x from the right side. And I'm going to do this in one step. But now, because I canceled that out and I have my x's over here, which is negative 5x, I'm going to subtract 21 on each side as well. And that's going to leave me with negative 24 minus 21 should be negative 45. And again, when you type this in the calculator like that, you want to make sure that you have the negative sign with the 24 and then the subtraction sign with the 21. And then, I know I've talked about this before in my classes, when you divide by a negative and an inequality, you got to flip the sign. So x is going to be greater than 9. Now the other way you could do it is you could check answers that are, say, greater than or less than that value. So like we could, in this case, we know 10 is greater than 9. If you plug in 10 for x in each spot, does it end up being true? So there's a couple ways you can solve these. So you would check each expression in the calculator to see if the expression with the inequality sign is true. And sometimes we'll get a little stuck with the equal sign part if it's not there or it is. So look out for that and make sure you understand which one is less than and which one is greater than. Now, going on to a graph one, if you do take a look at number 7, strategy for a question like this is, you have two different types of inequalities. You got less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. Well, in the case of each of the signs, if you do see a less than, those are going to be shade below, and the greater thans will be shade above. If you have the equal to part, you're just going to have a regular line, but if you don't have the equal to, it's going to be a dashed line, kind of like that. So 7 doesn't really distinguish between less than or equal to, but in the case of this, you'd want to check negative 3 plus 2 or 2x minus 3. So I'm going to go ahead and type in 2x minus 3, and the calculator hits second, graph. And I'm going to really focus on some of the points. So like the point 0, negative 3, and you want to check that just to make sure that's exactly on the graph. We also got 1, negative 1, same thing. So once you have a couple points in that line, it's safe to say it's going to be either 1 or 2. Now what I want you to think about and select based on that is, based on the signs, is this the shade below or shade above? So that'll help you find the final answer, whether it's 1 or 2. Now we're going to look at one other question. If you look at 4 on the back of the first page, and again, I'm going to go ahead and graph this inequality right here. The y is less than 2x plus 1, just to give you an idea. You want to be careful because there are several parts to this. They want you to state the coordinates of a point in the solution set. So that would mean, I'm going to write down a coordinate right now. You need to write down, say, 2, 4 as a solution, whatever it is. But what you would be looking for in the case of this question, because you have 2, be looking for a point that's in the double shaded area. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to y equals. I got 2x plus 1. I'm going to do second in graph. Okay, I'm going to start at 0. I got 0, 1. And then I got from there, I got 1, 3, 2, 5, 3, 7. So I notice my slope is 2, so I'm going up 2 and over 1 for each of the points. Okay, and also notice how I'm putting in as many points as I can in this case. Now the other part, like I talked about, is there's a less than sign. So I have to dash this. This is going to be a dashed line, and then it'll be shade below. So make sure you have that written down on your paper, that chart that I just talked about. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw in some dashes for this. And then shade below would be this side, the side underneath the inequality. Okay. So anything in the shaded area would be considered a solution for that inequality. But because there's 2, we're looking for ones that are in the double shaded area. So keep that in mind as you finish that question. And if you have any other questions, please be sure to ask me in class.